We have our services online for the time being on second and fourth Sundays. Second Sundays is Reverend Alfreda Lanois, and fourth Sundays, usually Reverend Jesse Brune Haran, our co-founder. And we are starting to make plans for returning to in-person services. So if you haven't already filled in the quick 2-question survey, would you please take a moment to do that after service today? We want to hear from you when you're going to feel comfortable coming back together, whether in person, whether indoors or outdoors. And so please let us know. And also, if you have ideas of where we can meet in West Hollywood or Hollywood, somewhere around there, outdoors, please put that into the chat. Thank you. Also, want to announce that we are starting also to make plans for Giving Tuesday, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It's a global day of giving. And last year, we had some fabulous sponsors who made possible some amazing thank you gifts for our donors. And we want to make it even more amazing this year. So we're specifically looking for restaurant or retail gift cards in increments of $25 or more. And if you have a business, or if you have a restaurant or a retail business, or you know someone who would like to donate, please, we would be so grateful to have these gift cards to share with our Giving Tuesday donors. So please let us know. You can write to us at office@inspirespiritualcommunity.org, or you can reply to your service email. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to make Giving Tuesday even more amazing this year. So thank you in advance for that. Also want to let you know that we have a prayer ministry. So if you have a prayer request, you can email it to us. You can also put it in the Facebook group, and we will keep you lifted. And we have an amazing service committee that I would like to thank. I would like to thank Casey Carroll, Tom Hennessy, and Garrick Angel, our amazing service committee. I'm so grateful to serve with you and serve this community with you. So thank you for all that you do to make these services possible. Thank you. All right, I think that's it for the announcements now. Thank you for bearing with me. We're going to move into our meditation and opening prayer. So if you would get comfortable in your seat and just take a nice deep breath of love and gratitude. Allow your eyes to close, your arms and legs to uncross, feet flat on the floor, just being an open channel for spirit to flow through. And another long, slow, deep breath in. And gently exhale, letting go of everything that came before this moment. And let us imagine a small ball of bright white light rotating clockwise in the center of your chest. This ball of light is about the size of a tennis ball, and as you place your attention on it, it begins to expand. It's beautiful white light filling your chest, flowing up past your shoulders into your neck and filling your head. White light flowing down your arms into your hands and fingers. The light continues to expand and fill your torso, moving down past your hips into your legs, filling your thighs, your knees, your calves, your ankles, feet, and toes. Your entire physical body is one with this light. Every bone, every muscle, every organ, every cell, atom, and electron of your being soaked and saturated in this brilliant, beautiful white light. Let's breathe and take a moment to feel the effects of this light on your body. It's rejuvenating, it's restorative. It brings you to your natural state, the high frequency of divine love. And this light expands beyond the body into the auric field, creating an orb of light 3 feet all around you. And it begins to expand and fill the room that you're in, lifting everything up, flowing out to fill the building you're in, flooding out onto the street. Light continuing to expand your neighborhood, your city, your state, your country, your continent, seeping into the ocean, instantaneously enveloping the entire planet and uniting every living being. And collectively, we see the planet surrounded and enfolded in this light. And we remember our oneness and our divinity, our divine perfection, our infinite connection. What a blessing. And let's take a moment to breathe in this light, breathe in this love, breathe in this joy. Send it to ourselves and each other and the entire planet. Mother, Father, God, divine love, infinite intelligence, all that there is. How grateful I am to join together with my beloved Inspire family. So grateful to connect in community wherever we are in the world, remembering to keep our divine appointment, remembering our divinity, remembering our true nature is joy. We open up to receive all of the goodness of this service, remembering that the blessings are flowing in all directions, giving and receiving equally in love. So we let go of anything that may be concerning us, anything that may be troubling us, any heavy burdens, anything that would keep us from being fully present here now, accepting the love and joy and peace that is available. Release it now. So grateful to let it go and stand in the light of truth, remembering that God is all there is, love is all there is. And we are that. We are that. We are the light. We are the love. We are the joy. We are the peace. We are the freedom. We are all of the glorious attributes of God. Everything that we're seeking is already here within us. And so we open that. We open ourselves to accept it, to access it, and to share it with every living being because we're one with them. In grace and gratitude, we release this word. We allow it to be. We know the service is perfect, it is blessed, and we are grateful. And so it is. All right, my loves, let us now introduce our wonderful Tom Hennessy, Reverend Tom, to give us our mission statement. Reverend Tom.
Before you do that, do we want to welcome the first timers?
Yes, I would love to welcome the first time guests. If you're new to Inspire, please put your name in the chat and where you're from, and let us all welcome you together. Welcome to Inspire. We know who you are. You are a beautiful and unique way The divine is expressing itself on the planet. We see you, we love you, and we welcome you home. Welcome to Inspire. Yay. And now Reverend Tom Hennessy will give us our mission statement. Thank you, Reverend Tom.
Thank you, Reverend Amina. Our mission statement on the screen there for everybody. We can say it together. You can say it in the privacy of your own home. Let's go. Mission statement. Inspire is a spiritual community of like-minded
souls
committed to walking
our talk
in joyous fellowship by demonstrating the power of love, compassion, and non-judgment every day in every way. Recognizing the divinity of all life, we stand united by actively liberating humanity by healing judgment, fear, and shame within ourselves. Our intention to create world peace, piece by piece. Woohoo! And now it's my good pleasure to welcome a classmate, a former classmate of mine, for Jennifer O'Brien, to do our God shot.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, it is no coincidence that Amina asked me to present on this month's theme, joy is your true nature or your true self, because I've been struggling with that. And that question of like, where's the joy? I don't know where it's at. And in the last sort of 5 to 7 years, I've been sort of slowly awakening to the life that I had created. And it is a life with love. It is a life with purpose. It is a life with success and security, but it's also a really exhausting. And that exhausting feeling really kills all the joy that comes from being a person with love and success and security. And I pulled one sentence out of The Way of Mastery, because that's typically how I learn spiritual truth, is one sentence at a time. And in lesson 2 of The Way of Mastery, it has this sentence. It says, the world of conflict, fear, guilt, and unworthiness, and the world of the kingdom lie side by side within your own mind. Within your own mind. And so I sort of, I sold my company. This is 8 months ago. I sold my company. Me and my wife moved an hour outside the city. I just took my life and I just turned it upside down because it was exhausting. I couldn't do it anymore. And this sentence really sticks with me, because after turning my life upside down, it was really quite peaceful. But again, peaceful is not joyful. And so I started to look around to find the joy. I found like makeup tutorials. I was watching makeup tutorials for like no reason. I didn't even wear makeup. And I was like, you know what? Makeup used to be fun. I remember makeup being fun. Like, let me try it. Let me get some makeup and put some makeup on and let's see if it's a good time. And it really was for a little while. And then I started observing thoughts coming up. Like, oh, can I really make my nose look smaller with contour? Like, oh, can I really make my skin look flawless? And it ended up transitioning from like a playtime to like practicing a skill that I could use in the future to like appear better than I think I am to other people. And so, kind of like quitting my job and quitting my, moving and all of that, I said, okay, let's not do makeup anymore. Let's color in coloring books. Like, let's just take it all the way back. And I started coloring in coloring books, and it was so peaceful in the beginning, but soon I started hearing my thoughts again, saying, wow, you know, you're really good at coloring. Like you have a gift, like you must be an artist. And you should gift these things to people so they can tell you how good it is. And like, it was just like this kind of sick way of thinking that is really deeply ingrained in me, that everything I do has to lead to success, or it has to be a skill that's monetizable, or it has to get me somewhere. Playtime can never just be for fun. You know, and so I could hear myself and I could see myself rushing through the coloring process, like not wanting to take my time, sort of feeling agitated that the lines were so small, you know, just like it wasn't, the joy was gone. And so I have to come back to the world of conflict, fear, guilt, and unworthiness. And the world of the kingdom lies in my own mind. And a simple act like coloring that can be joyful, and it can also be anxiety ridden. Makeup can be joyful. It can also be a time to really get in touch with all your insecurities. And so I sometimes get frustrated by statements like, oh, joy is your true self, like follow your joy. And it's like, okay, then why can't I be my true self? Like, hello? Are you guys hearing that? Okay. I thought maybe it was like the Lord coming in to make a comment. No, I get frustrated because why can't I be my true self? Like, why am I not just skipping down the street as this like joyful person who like blows kisses at people and signs her name with little hearts, you know, like, where is that true self? Like, you know, I study the principles, I do all the things, I go to all the like, where's my joy? So, you know, for the last 8 months, I've really been inquiring and looking at these thoughts and observing these thoughts as I do things that I hope will feel playful. And I've kind of come up with this analogy of like dating. It's kind of like dating. You really, when you go on a date, it's playful and it's intended to be fun, but there's also this intention of getting to know the other person. So there's a listening that occurs maybe more intensely than if you're with other people. So, you know, I encourage people to go on these little play dates with yourself like it's a date and really listen to the thoughts that are coming up for you, because this is where your joy is blocked. It isn't in the thing. It isn't in the time. It isn't in the lack or whatever. It's in your mind, and it's the thoughts that come up. It's that negative roommate that lives in your head. It's that learned behavior. It's that all that stuff that you used as your survival arsenal to become the thing you thought you wanted to be and do all the stuff you want to be doing. But that negative roommate is masking this kingdom that is there. It's available. It's in your own mind. And I just leave you with the world of conflict, fear, guilt, and unworthiness. And the world of the kingdom lies side by side in your own mind. And I say, if you can clear yourself a little path, then it will lead you to your true self, which is joy. Thank you guys for listening.
Jennifer, thank you so much. It's always so awesome to hear you share. You have such great insights and you have such great honesty, and that is a blessing, and you're really doing the work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, so awesome.
And with that, I would like to introduce the star of the show today, the wonderful, gorgeous, talented Patsy Moore.
There we go. All right. So, hi everyone. I can't see all of you, but I already know how gorgeous you are. So, you know, that's going on right now in my mind's eye. Like Jennifer, I kind of laughed when I was told what the theme of the month is because I've been going through some things in recent history that have required that I reacquaint myself with the truth, as opposed to my reality, right? So there are a lot of words, and I'm going to talk about some of them today, but there are a lot of words that we erroneously use, like we substitute one for the other, but there are actual nuances of differences, or some that really don't mean the same thing at all, but we've somehow fallen into the space of believing that they do. So for instance, I often hear people in spiritual communities say, only love is real. And sure, maybe this is my ego, the nitpicky grammarian that I can be, but I don't agree with that statement, because reality is based upon the perception you are having of what is happening in and around you. What I do believe, though, is that only love is true. And our work regularly is to have what is real for us move into alignment with what is true. Therein lies the way to alleviate suffering, or certainly suffering to the degree that we often suffer. This is an interesting topic because I think if handled in such a way that we don't acknowledge some differences of meaning, we could actually be encouraging people to spiritually bypass, which is not the answer. So I want to also mention that, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but that we often conflate these ideas of happiness and joy. And there are many differences between the two, but the primary one is that happiness is something that is externally informing us. So long walks on the beach, Knott's Berry Farm, whatever your thing is that brings a smile to your face, to your heart, it makes you feel lighter, takes your mind off of things that might be concerning you, distracting you from the troubles in your life and the troubles in the world, right? During the 10 minutes that you hung out with your best friend, it wasn't that you didn't care about Haiti or Afghanistan or any of those things anymore. It's just that you had this moment that felt like a reprieve from a troubled and troubling world. That's happiness. But happiness is also very much rooted in ourselves. So it therefore has a connection to ego. It's, I need to feel better in this moment. What are the things that can make me feel better? Like makeup tutorials or whatever. Joy is something completely different. Joy is an inside job. It works inwardly, and there's a reason for that. So let's start with it. Please don't get upset. You don't have to take notes. There won't be a pop quiz, but we're going to start from biology. And we're going to talk about genes. So genes, we know they are units of heredity, and they are transferred from the parent to the offspring. And to the best that science has been able to find, and we see it all the time in our own lives, genes help to determine certain characteristics in said offspring. When I was 11 years old, that was when my hair first began turning gray. The reason my hair started turning gray at 11 is because I am the daughter of Doug Moore, who also had hair that started turning gray at 11. And that happened with Doug Moore because he was the son of Haywood Elvin Moore, who had snowy white hair, which if my hair was actually grown out right now, you would see I do as well. My father also gave me my eyes. He gave me a way of mental processing. He gave me many of the skills, talents that I have. He gave me my problematic knees. These are my mother's lips. These are my mother's hips. My heart toward people who are suffering and wanting to be of service. I got this from my mother. These are my paternal grandmother's cheeks. These are my maternal grandmother's teeth. These things exist in me, inform me and function a certain way because I am the offspring of someone who had those genes and passed them down. And those were passed down to them, and they were passed down to the person who passed them down to them. So we begin by looking first at not only who we are, but whose we are. And here, you're here because some part of you, some deep-seated part of you has an understanding that you are of God. God, as your parent, has transferred onto you specific characteristics. Think of them as genes. Think of them as your spiritual DNA. In the letter that was in one of the Pauline epistles, and the letter was written to the church in Galatia, the book we call Galatians in the Bible, chapter 5, verses 22 to 23, what we are introduced to is this concept of the fruits of the Spirit. In one translation, a modern translation, it reads, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance," meaning long-suffering or patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, meaning self-discipline, sobriety. Against these things or such things, there is no law. So the fruit of the Spirit we're going to talk about is joy, which is the second one that is mentioned in that list. It is an inherited trait of the God that is indwelling, the God that made us and continues to make us back into a place of remembering our wholeness. Joy exists in us, period. The same way these eyes and my white hair and these knees exist in me, period. Whether or not I choose to acknowledge them, they are there. I am my father and my mother's child, even if they disown me tomorrow. They are how I got here for this lifetime. You and I are the children of God. And the traits of God, the fruits of the capital S Spirit, are indwelling. We are, from the time we show up, and even before we are known by any other person on the earth, we are installed with those qualities. So when we're talking about joy, we're talking about a thing that is fixed. And the issue is not that we don't have it. The issue might be that we don't feel it. And the reason we often don't feel it is because we're looking for it out here. I've shared this story with you before, but I think it's appropriate for this, that great Hindu teaching about the Congress of Gods who assemble, and they have the great gift that is humanity, that is for humanity, rather, the great gift of empowerment. And they're discussing, where shall we put this? Because the last time humans had power, they abused it. And so where can we put it for safekeeping? So they considered putting it on the top of the highest mountain. And one of the gods said, no, that's a horrible idea because they're really crafty and they'll learn how to climb and they'll get up there and they'll take it. And another god said, well, what if we put it in the depths of the ocean? Nah, the crafty thing again. They're going to swim, they're going to dive, they're going to go down, they're going to find it. And they keep thinking of all these different ideas. And finally, the chief god says, what if we put it inside them? They'll never think to look there. A truer story has probably never been told. We don't look there often because we often don't trust ourselves. We don't trust ourselves to have the wisdom that we are granted by source. We confuse it often with what we substitute sometimes in our realities, which is knowledge. So we know things, we read things. So we have a lot of theoretical stuff going on, but not the application. So I want to talk a little bit about what joy is and its distinction. It's very marked distinction from happiness. And I also want to begin by sharing something personal and the thing that has led me to be considering the notion of joy so arduously these days. After 14 years of being in the clear, cancer has made its way back into my body. That this gorgeous adornment that I have on my neck is there because the cancer has settled into salivary glands and the parotid. So right now, I and my doctors are doing what needs to be done to move that from me, remove it. It's a process that was complicated by the fact that around the tumor, there was a very bad infection that had set in. So we have to kill the infection first before they can go in and do the surgical stuff. But there have been small procedures leading up to it. In full disclosure, I will tell you that when I received the news that there was in fact a tumor and that the tumor is malignant, and that there were also a couple of stones related to it that were embedded in the gland. The first place I went to was not joy. I was frustrated. I was angry when I considered the medical negligence at the last winter that led to it taking us so long to get to this point. I was a little sad. There's a grieving process that happens. It's not as though I haven't in my lifetime known profound healing. I was 40, so 17 years ago, I just had a birthday on the 10th. I'm 57 now. So in my 40th year, I had that conversation with doctors about the fact that I might only have 6 months to live. In 2019, when I was suffering horribly from mycotoxin poisoning, I heard something similar. So I know that my life has some purpose toward which it is still charging. And I am grateful to still be here. But I really, really, really had hoped that this particular challenge, this battle and the little battles that accompany it was over for me. And I also know that somewhere way in the back of my mind, there was also some shame, I think, about finding myself here again. After a couple of days of really kind of juggling all of these emotions and reactions to what was happening, I found myself actually thinking about what joy is and how it was mine, and how if ever there were a time that I needed to access it, it was right now. And so I really began a practice of doing that. There was a book in the Old Testament that is named after a prophet. It is Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 10. It says, "The joy of the Lord is your strength." More accurately translated, it's the joy that comes from source, the joy that comes from God, the joy that can only come from God is where you will find your strength. Not in your intellect, not in your ability to craft all sorts of weaponry, not even, I'm going to be controversial here, not even necessarily in calling all your friends and asking them to pray. Your innate joy, this wonderful bit of genetic information passed to you from the universe, is where your strength lies. Why? Because joy is not really pleasure. It's not really happiness. Although exuberance can accompany it, can come alongside it. Joy is the deep-rooted wisdom that in the face of difficulty, despite difficulty, in the face of good times, God is with us. Joy is that thing that remembers that we are always cupped in a benevolent hand. So my friend Corinne is a wonderful, wonderful human being and a somatic healer and professor who lives in New Mexico. She and I were having an exchange about the cancer returning. And she shared something with me that I doubt I will ever forget this. It's just been stuck there. 10 words. She was taking a class, and the class was being taught by James Finley. And James Finley, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a respected clinical psychologist. He's also an author. He has co-authored a lot of books by people you may have read, like Carolyn Miss. He said these 10 words to them in the class. He said, God protects us from nothing, but sustains us in all. God protects us from nothing, but sustains us in all. We have all had those moments when we think, where is this loving God now? This is happening in the world. That's happening with my parents. This is happening with my next door neighbor. This is happening in my body. But what comfort it brought me, actually, not frustration, but comfort to understand that I needn't be concerned with the things that I'm experiencing as a physical being in a physical paradigm, and therefore under physical law. I need not be distracted by those things. I need only remember in my heart of hearts that God is with me always. God is with me even when I don't feel like it, even when I don't think that I can find any evidence of it. When I look up at the night sky and I see a crescent moon, trust me when I tell you that the rest of the moon is still there. It's just obscured from my view. And this is how it is in our lives as well. God does not forsake us. We have so many ways in which we find ourselves forsaking the love that is ours. But that love remains. That love remains. Joy is the deep wisdom that knows that and therefore operates from that space as opposed to trying to operate from the space of the 5 physical senses or what someone told you or what you may have read. Or it just is a deep knowing embedded in you, passed down to you from your mother, father, God, that you are held always, always. The Dalai Lama, in discussing happiness, someone asked him about happiness one time, and he said, oh, happiness is a butterfly that lands on you and then flitters away. Happiness is fleeting, it is ephemeral, it is temporal. The love that is God is not. And the part of you that is able to get up in the morning and go on about your life and still find the beauty in things that are seemingly mundane, that is the part of you that is joy. That is the part of you that is connected to the truth of God being an ever-present refuge, an ever-present balm. So, the joy that comes from God is our strength. God is our joy, our peace, ever present in troubled and troubling times. Joy is everlasting. The joy that is found in God's presence, it's not static, it's transformative, it's regenerative. At the heart of our joy, there is an awareness that is unshakable. In times of unpleasantness, suffering, pain, those are the moments when we need to lock in to our unshakable, unwavering heart. I was speaking with a friend recently and was reminding the friend of something that Voltaire once wrote, that doubt is not a pleasant condition, but certainty is absurd. And it's true in the sense that so much of what we seek certainty within is itself uncertain. More specifically, anything that is knowable outside of the wisdom that God is, that love is, and that grace abounds, is an uncertainty. And so when we really put our faith in these things, we're in for a world of hurt. or we're certainly at the very least in for some disappointment. So the idea here with joy is that we want to, if we are going to have certainty in anything, we want to place certainty in the only thing that is certain. The only thing that is certain is that while God may not protect you from things, God sustains you in them, throughout them. There's a poem that I came into my possession, I don't know, a few months ago, and I was reminded of it recently, and I had posted it on my counseling page on Facebook, and then also on Instagram, I believe. A poem by the brilliant poet, Mary Carr. And the title of the poem is The Voice of God. And this is what Mary Carr says: 90% of what's wrong with you could be cured with a hot bath, says God from the bowels of the subway. But we want magic to win the lottery we never bought a ticket for. Tenderly, the monks chant, embrace the suffering. The voice of God does not ponder, offers no 5-year plan, no long-term solution, nary an edict. It is small and fond and local. Don't look for your initials in the geese honking overhead or to see through the glass, even darkly. It says the most obvious crap. Put down that gun. You need a sandwich. Several years ago, I was hanging out with Hayes Hawk. Most of you, or a lot of you I know Hayes. And Hayes's life is such that these young crunchy granola Burning Man hippie kids find her all the time and come to her seeking her wisdom. And so her house was always open to everyone. And on the evening that I was at her house, there was this mass of these kids, sweet, and sincere in their spiritual longings and their desire to learn more, how to get close to source, how to live from a place that was grace-filled and altruistic. And there was a young lady there, and she went into this whole monologue about all of these things that she was seeking to do, because in her mind, I believe that she thought that when she had achieved those things, that would be nirvana, she would truly be a deeply spiritual person. So there was a lot of talk about going to Peru and drinking ayahuasca and going to a mountaintop, and there were all these things, and she just went on and on and on. And there was Hayes sitting in front of her, and Hayes listened silently and generously. And when the girl finished that and then turned to Hayes, partly I think for her response, but also I think she was expecting Hayes to say, yeah, that's the path to enlightenment. And Hayes looked at her and said, okay, or you could just go eat a cheeseburger. Now, what was that about? It was about the fact that we are so eager to be beyond suffering, to be beyond pain. And everything around us is constantly encouraging that, right? I mean, every magazine ad, every commercial, your friends, we all have that friend who just is like, let's party, 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 party all the time, because you don't have to be still and hear what's happening inside of you and ponder and course correct. You just want to forget it all. You want to be free, though there's no real freedom in that. The thing we are doing is constantly trying to pull ourselves out of our bodies. And what Spirit is saying is you need to land back in there, because our ultimate is full integration. We are not just body, and we are not just mind, and we are not just spirit, but by God, we are all of those things. And when they are operating in concert, when they are supporting the others, we are in a fully integrated state. A sane state, a state in which we can receive the truth, a state in which we're able to pause and say, wait a minute, God is with me always, even in this, especially in this. Ground yourself, be embodied. It is so important to be embodied. You are not more spiritual than everybody else if you choose to stay out of your body. You might be more flailing. You might have moments where you're not as compassionate as you might be, because there is something about feeling it all in this body that helps you extend grace to others who are feeling it all as well. So the universe, God, source, whatever name makes you feel most comfortable, is in a perpetual state of yes, yes. And so we speak the things that we want to energize more of, knowing that the universe hears that and says, yes, of course, child, of course. What's mine is yours. You ask believing. A Course in Miracles tells us that all healing happens at the level of belief. You ask believing, and what you ask will be given you. You seek with your entire heart, your entire being, and you will find what has only seemingly eluded you. You knock, and the door to your love, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, and yes, joy, the fruits of the Spirit, that door opens wide. And I want to say this too. What is required of us in order to suffer less and to more clearly feel the love that is us is to be in the moment, to be present. So this is a thing that I've come to a lot over the years of, these medical crises, these incidents. I never asked for people to pray that anything be removed from my body. I didn't say to anybody, will you pray that this cancer goes away? I don't know what anything is for. What I will ask people continually to pray for is that I will remember the truth of my wholeness. That the dominant thought in my mind and heart at all times will be that God is with me. That is where the healing needs to happen. In my understanding, not in my body. The miracle is the shift in my perception. The miracle is the shift. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Patsy. Thank you and bless you. And we are knowing your healing. We are knowing your wholeness. We are knowing your divine perfection always. Always. One of the things that I so appreciate about you is your authenticity and your transparency and your willingness to share. And I say this a lot, but it's something that I just feel so strongly, is that all of these things that we must go through that seem like the worst things, there's something in it for us, and there's something in it to share with other people. And just sharing it with one person and making a difference for them is what it's all about. So I thank you for really doing that and really doing your part. And this is one of the ways we know the oneness of all life, is that we are connected, and that your situation and your suffering and your release from suffering and your overcoming supports another and another and another infinitely.